I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? I'm checking out the chat and I don't know what Chuck's referring to. I'm going to have to look that up. I hope you all are doing well. I do have waiting in the wings Kyle Davis, but before he's here, I'm going to pull in Amanda and make fun of him a little bit. We had a little bit of technical difficulties getting on. He's a tech guy and I'm not. And I'm like, have you tried rebooting? And that fixed it. So let me just do quickly the YouTube stuff and then we'll get right to both of us talking. I do appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. You rebellious libertarians do not like doing that. Oh, and Chuck, and we'll get into that. But subscribe, as I said, and you can follow me on Twitter at Karen Ann Harlow. Sorry, my logo's in the way there. And I do appreciate your support on Patreon at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. There's a lot of long form content going on right now. And I'm gonna make sure, because I'm probably gonna have to scoot over a little bit. We're gonna add Kyle on here. And just before I add him, just so you know, he and I like talk for 1 minute about what we're going to talk about. This is my typical, I know some people like it, some people don't, rambly, free association, but you guys get to see the work. You don't get to just see the end product, you get to see the work. So, I'm looking at my old lady glasses. I want to add him to the right. Oh, you've got a big head.
That's true in person too. You know.
Let me see if I can adjust mine a little bit. This happens with me and Mike as well. So I've got my pan and zoom here. Why isn't it work? It doesn't want to. So there. Oh, there we go. I don't want to be that big though. Okay, that's more even. All right, so Chuck Moulton, which I think you can see the chat. I've never been on your end of the eCam thing. And he had said, what's it, Betteridge's Law of Headlines, any headline that ends in a question mark can be answered by the word no. Maybe, but also ones that end in a question. We need the YouTube law of headlines. In order to get people to watch something, you've got to have something that is a hook. I mean, that's just the way it is. Obviously, my conclusion, I think it's yours, but I'm not going to speak for you. I think the answer is yes, but it hasn't been proven in any kind. That's why there's allegedly, there's always allegedly, but we're allowed to have our opinions, and I'm going to back it up. Kyle, just brief on your thoughts, because then I want to get into some of the reasons why I'm bringing all this up.
If it is not illegal, it will be through the thinnest of technicalities, and they're going to immediately make it illegal afterward. And playing those kinds of games with the FEC don't necessarily screw you at the time, but in the long run, you lose. The FEC will then make sure to look for any reason to get you. They're just not the people to go after up front. So the idea that well, the law doesn't say it's wrong. It's like, it kind of does. And if you can get away with saying that it doesn't, we're fucked next time. So I think it's insane.
Yeah, and I actually think it very clearly is. Now, I have to be careful and say not careful for any kind of like telling a falsehood type of thing. This is opinion. You're allowed to have opinions. I have to be careful in that a very, very talented, highly qualified attorney responded to the FEC's request for additional information to the LNC. So I do realize the chutzpah of me, a non-attorney, saying, no, that attorney was wrong. Because I'm not going to impute bad faith or anything to that attorney. I just think they were wrong. I actually think they did an incredible job with the crap material they had to work with. But just like where I said the judge got it wrong in the Beth Vest dismissal, I had a couple people with legal backgrounds listen to my show and go, you know what? You're right. That wasn't a right determination. In fact, Andrew Chatterton even admitted that in his secret brief to the LNC, because that issue came up in Michigan as well. The officers are most definitely directors. Imagine the DC law says directors have a fiduciary duty. By the logic of that court ruling, none of the officers have a fiduciary duty to the LNC. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think the judge was in a hurry, just read the briefs, and took their argument as gospel without thinking it through. It's very bad law, and it happens. Judges have a heavy workload, so I'm not dissing the judge. But in any event, yes, I realize I have some chutzpah in saying that I think that attorney got it wrong. Now, let's also be clear. While that attorney was the attorney for the LNC in answering, and I'm probably going to have to back up to give some history because we're kind of assuming everyone knows what's going on. Right. They were also the attorney for the Kennedy Victory Fund. And just imagine a divorce where the same attorneys representing both sides. It can be done as long as both sides consented, so there wasn't any kind of like lack of consent, but still not a good. Oh, look at Zulu's here, who just put out that video that he's the that's heard across the internet.
Oh man, I've had a good time hopping on Zulu's page lately, trolling the fillators of a certain person the video targeted.
Yeah, wow. So let's back up for those who don't know, particularly people who may have seen just Kennedy and they want to see the video and they're not LP insiders. So the Libertarian National Party nominated candidates at its convention. We don't nominate by national primaries. It's a little bit different than people are used to with major parties. We do it through convention. I know technically the DNC and RNC does too, but they've got a whole thing with their bound delegates and things like that. We're not like that at all. We don't have bound delegates. It's strictly at convention. And our nominees were Chase Oliver and Mike Termott. Some people were happy with it. It was a very divided party. Some people were not happy with it. We're not getting into all that. They won, and they won fair and square. Anyone wants to go through that nonsense. Who was it that said that? Oh, it was Scott Horton that said there was some kind of funny business. And I said, what? Be specific. Yeah. And of course I got no answer because there wasn't. If they're saying, oh, Mike Termott switched sides at the last minute, welcome to politics, my little snowflake. That happens all the time. When you're running, when you're angling, you're going to see what horse is going to win. And
as some, like how the sausage was made there, Rec was offered the same deal. Rechtenwald was offered the same deal. He and Michael Heiss turned it down, and so they lost. And it wasn't a thing of principle. It wasn't we're standing on this principle. It was, they were told literally, Michael Heiss laughed at the idea of the deal and said, we're going to win. Why would we compromise?
Yeah. So Chase won fair and square. And I have some cred to say this in a different position than you're in. I've said this before. I did not vote for Chase. I was part of the NOTA 300. I voted NOTA. I don't stand by that vote. But that is how I voted at the time. So I'm not saying this in order that my candidate can. No. I was part of the NOTA 300. Chase won fair and square. So afterwards, so that convention was the end of May. In the beginning of July, all of a sudden Colorado had a vote that they're going to put RFK Jr. on the ballot in Colorado. Now, we need to stop there because right there, this is where I will start from the very beginning to say RFK Jr. is corrupt. And I will say that, and he can kiss my libertarian ass because his representative because I was at those board meetings and I was all over social media. They knew damn well that what they were trying to pull was against Colorado bylaws and was against national bylaws. And they didn't care because they had the board in their pocket. And I don't mean they paid the board. I'm not trying to insinuate any kind of money changed hands here, though I wouldn't be surprised if it did. But I'm not claiming that. I have no proof of that. When I say in the pocket, they knew they had them for however. So they didn't care. They didn't care. They didn't care that over 40,000 registered libertarians in Colorado who had every right to expect that board to follow its bylaws got screwed over. They didn't care. He was a Kennedy and he was going to get what he wanted. He didn't care that people who spent thousands of dollars going to convention expecting the results to be honored were going to get screwed over by Colorado. He did not care. He was a ruthless bastard. Now, I know that's what politics is, but excuse me, I don't accept that as business as usual. So even before we get into the joint fundraising agreement, he is corrupt user. Period. He is not a good guy. He knew what was going on and he didn't care. And I am proud to say the pink-haired crazy lady from Colorado denied a Kennedy from what he wanted.
Good. So good. It's like his entire career has been about like twisting statistics and lying about things to try to get himself money. Like, and this is, while I'm not personally an anti-vaxxer, I don't care if you are. Like, if you don't believe in vaccines, fine. But you can go back and look at Kennedy's cases, and they're based on nothing. Routinely, not all of them, but many of them are. And he doesn't care because he's getting paid. I think that, you know, and I know there's plenty of jokes to make about lawyers in general, but I think any lawyer, any law-appointed group that's willing to absolutely lie about a thing to attack a company and attack products that may be good for people in exchange of lining their own pocket is dirty. And so that's what Kennedy's entire career has been. And now he's in charge of our health and he attacked our party. So I really don't like the guy. Pretty mad.
And obviously it's quite personal to me because it was my state. And it was my friends that I saw getting screwed over. So he does not care about contracts. He does not care about agreements. It was, I was able to convince this board however he did, and they have the vote. So as people know, I sued Colorado and I didn't quote unquote win the suit, but I also didn't lose the suit. I want to make this clear. The judge basically said to me, I can't stop them from passing stupid motions. I think that might have been even his exact words. He goes, the Secretary of State agrees with you. There's no relief I can give you. The Secretary of State already said you're right. If LPCO wants to bring in the Secretary of State as a party to the suit, well then, maybe we have a case. Or if the Secretary of State changes their mind, you can bring in. So basically, I didn't get an injunction because as far as the court was concerned, there was nothing to enjoin. I already won with the Secretary of State. So I know there's retconning going on that I lost that case. I didn't win it, but I didn't lose it. So it's kind of like on a committee where you can reconsider a vote as long as you weren't on the losing side. You could have abstained. You weren't on the winning side, but you also weren't on the losing side. I know that's a weird analogy, and LPCO went after me for fees to the tune, if I remember correctly, of about $6,000. They got denied those fees, and the court actually said in their order that she absolutely brought this case in good faith, acted in good faith, and the minute it was clear there was nothing to be gained through the courts, she dismissed the case. So, whatever. You know, I think if I didn't bring that case, we would have gotten steamrolled, but we don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball. So right after Colorado makes this decision, all of a sudden, Angela, the former chair of the LP, the former disgraced chair of the LP, decides that she's going to notice, and it was like, some of these dates are going to be a little fuzzy because I've tried to block out some of this. It was an executive committee meeting, and you only required, I think, we shortened it after that, but I think it was only like 2 days notice, 3 days notice. She notices that she wants to enter into a joint fundraising committee with the Kennedy campaign. Now, note, this is after convention. We already have our own candidates. And what a joint fundraising committee is where a national committee pairs up with, and this is critical, and this is in the the FECA, Federal Election Campaign Act. Okay, I want to throw up on my mouth a little bit that I even know that. It's in FECA that you can enter into these joint fundraising committees with candidates that are affiliated with the national committee that's doing this. And that's where this is illegal, as far as I'm concerned. Kennedy was never affiliated with the National Party. The word affiliated means something. He was never affiliated with the National Party. Now, we'll get into that, but that's the crux of the illegal argument, by the way, because you get to skirt around certain donation limits. Whether or not we think those donation limits should exist in Libertopia, the fact is, as a national party, this is the game we're playing. And I actually don't personally morally care if if the federal government is watching. I don't have a moral compunction against breaking campaign finance law. I have a moral compunction about it if it's done unilaterally by a national committee without consent of the delegates, knowing it can be a party-destroying act. If the delegates at convention say, screw the FEC, we're going to sell heroin and give the money to our candidates, I don't care, just come up with something crazy. That is a decision delegates can make. And I'm not going to weep tears for the federal government. But this was done underhandedly without consent of the delegates that put the party in mortal danger. And right. That is fraud upon the party. So my objection is the fraud upon the party. And when the state has abrogated enforcement to itself, you've got to use the systems they've put in place. And the system in place is the FEC, whether we like them or not.
Totally agree. It's, people expect a board to potentially take some risks and those sorts of things that could have blowback. But the general idea, and we're in a corporation, so that it's limited liability and everything else. But the idea is that there will be some actual fallout on whoever does a bad thing in the event a bad thing is done. So if the LNC chooses to do something that may be illegal, they're responsible for it. And what we have in this case is someone who has forced the entire party into it in a way that basically she's protected from, and instead all of us would have to pay for. That's wrong. It's fraudulent. No matter, even if it's not illegal, she's taken our money and made a decision for all of us on something that's huge. And I think that we saw that bore out in the way members responded. Memberships immediately took a dive. We started seeing people leave harder. It was just a giant nightmare. It was absolutely a nightmare.
So, and Kennedy knows all this too. So the way he bent Colorado over, he doesn't care about the LP. He got what he wanted. We could die in a fire as far as he's concerned. And I can tell you that I've already vowed, I am seeing this through. I am seeing this through, and he ain't getting away. LP suffers, he's going to suffer. I'm telling you, the pink-haired crazy lady from Colorado is got weaponized autism, and I am on this. And McArdle ain't getting away with it either, because I actually think, and this is a non-legal opinion, but I don't think she's shielded, actually. I believe this falls squarely at her feet. And I hope whoever the LNC is, when the chickens come home to roost, point the bus to run over in the exact direction that it belongs. But this is also a warning to delegates. If you're concerned about the survival of this party, you want to make sure, listen, I'm going to outright say it, other people might not, don't care. Mises cannot be in control of the LP when these chickens come home to roost, because they will have nobody to deflect the blame on. They are going to go down in a fire. My advice to the Mises people after this huge screw up, and my advice to Angela, is to get away from this now, as far away as you can. I don't think you're going to escape any kind of liability, but I do think you'll lessen it if you're still trying all of these schemes in this party. When these chickens come home to roost, it's going to go a lot worse, in my opinion. But to the delegates, if you care about this party, you better make sure there's a non-Mises LNC, because they're going to need to deflect, and they're not going, and I don't mean it in a bad way, they need to deflect it to where it's responsible. So you need to interrupt me whenever, because you know me. I get going. Okay. So July, she notices this joint fundraising committee. What people might not know is going on behind the scenes, because I had gone nuclear in Colorado already, that she and I broke up, okay, at that point, because Angela and I were thick as thieves. I think the last words she ever said personally to me was over signal was, she was trying to handle me. Now, anyone who knows me well knows she apparently never learned a lesson. I am not handled. She may have thought I was handled in the past because I went along with some things she said, but I thought maybe they were plausible, whatever. I was convinced, rightly or wrongly. But once I believe something's wrong, I am not handled. No, ma'am. Not today, Satan. So she had said to me, I really just can't talk to you right now. I think that was her last words to me. And I wrote back, okay. And just pretty much left it at that. So her and I were already on the out. She notices this joint fundraising committee. I had never heard anything about it up till the day that she noticed it. So she had been planning all of this and hadn't told her officers. Todd didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. I'm sure Andrew Watkins did. I can't say that. I shouldn't say I'm sure. I would suspect he did. But Todd and I were completely blindsided. And you can't say she didn't tell me because of the whole Colorado thing. This isn't something that happens in a week. She had to have been at some point talking about this. So it got rammed through the executive committee. It should have been a full LNC vote. And this questionable legality, even if you don't agree with my interpretation that it's illegal, it's a reasonable interpretation. Even if you think it's legal, it's on, as you said, the slimmest of technicalities. Yeah. She never said to members or to the LNC in anything public, and I don't know anything private from this time period. We're going to get to that. She never even hinted that it was questionable. She assured everyone that she had called the FEC however many times, and she had spoke with this attorney and that attorney, and everything was above. She never even said, we're taking a little bit of a risk here. Never. And at that executive committee meeting, I lost my shit. I lost my ever-loving mind. I wouldn't go into executive session. I basically told them they were selling out, and I refused to go into executive session because I told her that night I was appealing this, and I wanted to be in the position of the average member. So keep me out of any secret discussions that have to do with this unholy deal, because I don't want that dirty knowledge. So I can't even reveal anything here from executive sessions because I don't know anything from that time. Now, I lost my appeal. The JC was wrong, and it was a bad decision, and they should feel bad about it.
I think some of them do.
I hope so.
Based on comments later.
Yeah, I'm not really trying. I'm not trying to rake them over the coals. There's been bad decisions. They don't have the easiest job, but it was a bad decision. And they had a chance to make it right with Tony D'Orazio's appeal, and they still didn't. Yep. And, I mean, it is what it is. I'm really not dissing the JC. It was just, it was a bad decision. Okay, so that's where we're at. There's no hint to anybody. And in fact, I have a copy of an email that she sent to a party member. I don't want to give their name, but I have a copy of it, where she assured this party member that there was no question. But there obviously is a question. But even the Boston Globe said this was of questionable legality. So this isn't something some bitter pink-haired secretary is just pulling out of her rump. I'm not the only person to have said this. So I've got notes. So while I'm going there, if there's anything at this point you wanted to add, because like I've got an outline here of some stuff that I really want people to understand.
So at that point, I was working with a couple of groups trying to make sure that we could, make the LP libertarian again. That's how it's been pointed to multiple times. And we were working with different states and working with different people all over the country. And this happens. And everyone we were talking to had one of two responses. Either it was, I'm fucking done. And they were walking away. It was over. Or it was, oh, now it's time to fight. And so in that particular way, this JFC may have been one of the best things for the party. People are actually standing up and screaming and shouting, and we're seeing people go out and protest and fight both the LP to make the LP right again, but also like the government in general. So what she did was wrong and horrible, but it may finally have been a catalyst for the change that like we need to see. I'm generally not for people being pushed away from the party and being told they can't come back. But she's one of the people that I think has broken the fraud rules. And I think that if you can't, and I've talked before about how I would like to see a change in the way the pledge is written, because I think that the pledge currently is based on a second order of, it comes from self-ownership rather than it being the principle in and of itself. It's not the basis. And so we should be trying to pledge for that action, for the ideology. But she's broken that pledge. We all had to sign that pledge to become a libertarian, like a big L libertarian. And if someone can't follow a basic thing of to not use force against other people without like there being a reason, they have no business being here. I think it's a very low bar. It's like the easiest,
and it's funny,
pledge to get over.
You and I have disagreed on this. Like, I like when there's people that people know that I'm strongly allied with, like yourself or Mike Seebeck or other people. I like it when we disagree because people tend to think we walk in lockstep. I'm one of those people that I've always been. I'm absolutely against purging people from the party. Angela would purge me in a second.
Yes,
but I have a principled stand against. I'm not saying you're being unprincipled. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. It's just a personal thing that I think that snake comes back to bite everybody. So it's not even some noble calling. It's kind of self-interest too. What you use against other people can be used against you and your friends. And I don't want to see it happen to me or my friends, so I won't do it to somebody else, I guess is kind of where I'm coming from on it. So it's both principled and a bit pragmatic in self-preservation as well. We had that in Colorado, as you know. Wiley and crew were trying to push through a purge provision. I never would purge Wiley from this party. Now he would purge me in a second. And he may think that'd solve all the problem of me looking into this Colorado thing. Jim, if you're watching this, I promise you could throw me out 50 times and I am still going to get to the bottom of what happened in Colorado. I don't have to be a member to do that. And I am gonna take it to the bank. Anyway, so let's go back to the convention. And we're going to focus mostly on Chase. When I say Chase, think Chase Santermont. It's shorter to say that. Now, it's significant that at our convention, we nominate the president and vice presidential candidates separately. They're not a ticket, because one of the excuses that people say, or the LNC used, I mean, I just gotta say, I am trying to shield them and put blame where it belongs, but I mean, let's just, whatever, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, is that Kennedy ran for our nomination at convention, so therefore he's affiliated with the party. However, the Kennedy Victory Fund wasn't just Kennedy. It was Kennedy and Shanahan. Shanahan never ran for anything at our convention. And that is important. And it exposes how they can't even consistently make this argument. Now, she was nominated by somebody and did receive one write-in vote, but I have noted down. She got a write-in vote in the second round of voting, along with O.J. Simpson and your mom. So, yes.
It's about time Mom became a Libertarian.
And who is RFK Jr., he was eliminated in the first round. I think he got like 2% of the votes. 2.07. He got 19 votes. And it's important to note that not one of those votes came from Colorado. Now, it is my firm belief, I think you believe it as well, but it's my firm belief, I cannot prove it, this is an opinion. It is my firm belief that the whole RFK thing happened in Colorado because if Kennedy was in fact on the ballot in at least one state, that could have been a legal loophole for the joint fundraising agreement for the JFC. That right. Angela knew it was on shaky legal grounds. This is all speculation. But she, whether she was directly involved, again, this is all speculation, that if he got on the ballot in Colorado, that would have legitimized that. Now, I'm going to say something that people think is really cocky, and they could think it's really cocky if they want. It's my firm belief. Don't know whether you agree or not, and you can disagree if you wish. I think if that fight was not fought over RFK Jr. in Colorado, the party was done. That would have been the first domino, and he would have been on the LP ballot in other states, and we would have been shattered. Now, there still might have been something bearing our name, but it would not have been the party. That would have been the death of the party. People can agree or not. Okay, I firmly believe, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be main character syndrome here, because I think anybody should have done this, but it just turned out it fell in my lap. If I had not stiffened my spine, because I knew what was going to happen. I knew Angela Nemesis people. I knew that was an irrevocable break. If I had not signed that paper and got it notarized and got it to the Secretary of State, the party would have been done. And it's not because there's something special about me. The opportunity fell in my lap. Though I will have to say this. I do think shamefully we could count the number of people who would have did what I did, knowing what was going to happen and what I got put through that year. Now, there would have been other people who would have, but I don't think it would have been everybody. And that's a shame. Now, the party still might be dead. One of the things we preach
about in LPA all the time. Mm-hmm. We have people who are in the server and who will be like, well, no one's ever telling me what to do. It's like, correct. You have to lead your own life. If there's a project you want to be part of, you got to tell somebody. If there's a thing you want to do, you have to tell somebody. Or you have to start it and tell other people that you need help and see if they come with you. There's no, like, someone has to move first. And so if we're not all leaders in the fight for liberty, then we're losing. Even if the movement somehow wins, if you haven't been part of this fight, you've lost. You've misunderstood something important. And as a background between me and Karen Ann, Karen Ann used to run a forum, and I was part of that forum, and did not particularly get along well with Karen Ann at the time. She had my old Twitter blocked, and at this point we talk pretty frequently because the principle is the thing that matters. The differences are minor comparatively. Anybody who's willing to stand up and say, my reputation isn't my reputation with this group of people isn't what matters to me. My reputation to myself is what matters, and I've got to fight for that. has taken the principled stance that needs to be taken. They're making the fight that needs to be fought. And legitimately, when Karen Ann started standing against the rest of the MC folks who were on the LNC, it was a complete wake-up call for me of being like, I've judged this person too harshly. And so, I guess it's a little sappy, but I'm glad to call you friend.
Well, and it's likewise. And what some people may not remember, and again, as I said, I was part of the No to 300. At the time that came down and I submitted that nomination paperwork, I was not a fan of Chase. He still wasn't my guy. So again, I didn't do this because this was my candidate. I did it because I was elected to be secretary of the party, and it was my job to do my job, no matter who it pissed off. Right. It was my duty. It was my duty, and I was going to do my duty, no matter what happened. And what's funny is I didn't consult, I knew this was going to wreak havoc. I was home that day. I don't even remember, but I know I was home that day. I don't remember why, whether I was between jobs or what was going on. And Wayne was at work. I didn't even call and tell him I was going to do this. This was just, there was no hesitation. It was like, I was on the phone with Colorado. They said, we're waiting for the paperwork. And the paperwork only required my signature or Angela's signature. And I'm like, I'm doing my duty in getting this paperwork in. I literally did not think twice. So now we got that. Then the JFC happened after that. But there's a factor in this. So there's multiple players here. So we got RFK Jr., who already was a corrupt bastard with what he pulled in Colorado, and then was, using the LNC's campaign finance limits as his bitch. So whatever. Hector Roos, let's bring Hector Roos into this picture. Hector Roos already has a bit of a shady past with something he did in Miami, where he had distributed this hit piece against some candidate down there that had misspellings and everything in it. And okay, political hit pieces, some people might be go yawn, big deal. And I would agree. That isn't what's so bad. People forget what was so bad. He paid for by this specific, I think it was a union, but it was some specific group on the bottom to deflect attention from his paymaster and him. And that group had nothing to do with it. Right. So it was fraudulent attribution. And no wonder he's defending Angela, claiming, oh, Angela didn't make any money off of, freedom calls. Well, it's not my fault she's a bad embezzler. The fact is, Hector Roos, for all of that thing and impersonating another group in this flyer, he only made $69. So he's pretty bad at this too. So no, everyone forgets it's not the point whether she made money or not. She converted party funds, even if she temporarily, whatever, we did a whole show on that before. But no wonder he's defending her. If she lost money, that's embarrassing, kind of. If you're going to do something and the fact is she did make bank, okay? Even if it wasn't on freedom calls, she made money off the JFC that she rammed through the executive committee to the tune, was it $67,000 that she got paid for her work? So whether or not people think that should have been disclosed to the LNC, any of that, the SIC report, we can put all that aside. The fact is, she rammed through a legally questionable, and I believe illegal, JFC that she turned around and then profited from. And she's like, well, Kathy knew I was going to do that. I don't care what Kathy knew. Okay, maybe Kathy's bad too. We're talking about you right now. Yeah.
From Anisa's friend, one of the things that I found out that I thought was just absolutely fucking insane is that she showed up to Misa's meetings where people were like, why are you here? You're a giant problem. And her response was that even if you think that what I did was wrong, don't worry about it. It's at worst a civil problem. There will be no criminal charges.
And that
can
might
you
be true.
imagine, like, but that's
Yeah.
the worst argument
I
I've ever
know.
heard for, like, it's moral enough.
Yeah. Well, also, okay, I had heard from a very reliable source that after leading up to the JC considering my overturned suspension, she had went bragging to the Mises Caucus board, and of course this was all just boastful, like she couldn't do it, that if they don't find in my favor on this one, I'm just going to dissolve the JC. It's just like delusional, pathological delusion. And this is from she said it, okay? I'm not going to give the name of my source, but you can believe me or not. I know you believe me, but I mean to the audience. But let's get back to Hector Roos. Hector Roos, speculation, though some of this stuff's confirmed, I think he's a lot more involved in this than might be apparent. So this is what people forget. And this just goes to show how Hector's just not very smart. He tried to get Chase's nomination, and as well as some LNC members' nominations, voided after the convention. There was a legal letter, was it the Rock Legal Group or something out of DC, that was sent to the LNC that, and it questioned my election too, but there was a parliamentary error in that, and it was wrong with that, but that everyone ended up admitting that was, but it was the vice chair's election and then Chase's election. They were claiming there was illegal delegates and all of this thing, and this legal letter went out, and it didn't have any party member's name attached to it. But it was obviously in favor of, because of these anomalies, you should like have a dual nomination or you should allow affiliates to nominate somebody else if they want to. It was just, and I have the letter. We could pull it up, but I don't really want to get that tedious into it. But anyone who wants to see it, I got it. Now, how do I know Hector was behind it? This is where we show how brilliant Hector is. So Hector paid for this letter. And how do we know this? Because the lawyer sent a receipt for his services to the Libertarian Party of Florida, because Hector was on the board and gave an LPF email address, and the attorney for some reason sent it to the chair or to some more general email box for the services for this legal letter that Roos was trying to hide his involvement with. Brilliant. Just so brilliant. So Hector was involved with trying to undermine our candidate from the beginning, and he was multiple times. So he was, I don't know if he was the sole person in charge. I think there was several people in the Libertarians for Kennedy thing. So he knew about this JFC. Like, do I have proof of that? No, ahead of time. I believe he helped engineer it ahead of time. His just really unhinged defenses of Angela now just make no sense in any other context. That why he's carrying a torch for her so badly. Roos
He's also working with her current group.
What current group is that? I don't really follow Angela anymore.
Libertarian Unity, whatever it's called.
Well, I never believed that was like real.
Oh, sure. But like, they sort of have a website. Like, it
like Freedom Cause?
It's
Are
actually
they a radical group of individuals?
I kid you not. Every once in a while, we pull it up on one of the LP Alliance streams just to show that it's still broken. When it loads, all the assets load off the side of the page.
I know.
And so it's just a white screen, and you can see that something's over there.
But people forget about that letter. People forget about that letter. And I don't mind saying this because this is personal. This has nothing to do with parliamentary ability. But people know that I had a break with Jonathan Jacobs around this same time as well. And this might not be quite so public. The ultimate breakup was over Colorado. There were other things. But I was already getting to that point because he was obsessed with this legal letter. Every time we talked on the phone, he brought it up to the point, because he's like, the LNC needs to do something. And I'm like, to the point where I've said, dude, we're not talking about this anymore. It was just bizarre. Now, was it just a desire for drama? That could have been all it is. I'm not suggesting anything nefarious. Like, who knows? I just know that it was irritating the living hell out of me, and it just felt wrong. It felt off, and I had already started to distance myself. And then the whole Colorado thing came into play, and I broke up with him. Like, we weren't dating, you know what I mean? As a friend, broke up with him. And then he went viciously after me, because I guess you just don't do that. Okay, so there we go. The legal letters. Oh, and Roos tried to entice many state affiliates into putting RFK Jr. on the ballot. Now, that there is definitely something I think a convention could discipline him for. If you have a member that was a delegate at convention, they tried to nominate somebody, they lost, then he tries to secretly send these legal letters to undermine the process. And just think of how many thousands of dollars people spent to go to that convention. I mean, it's just insane. So he started sending these Twitter DMs. It could have been emails as well, but I have a copy of the DM to the Libertarian Party of West Virginia, where he was trying to convince them to put RFK Jr. on their ballot instead of Chase. That is just so immoral. And whether you like Chase, you supported him or not, how dare you rob him of what he legitimately won, you snake? And I felt that way even when I wasn't a Chase supporter. And I keep saying that in the past tense because Chase did win me over. One of the reasons he won me over was his grace under fire. This should have been one of the happiest times in his life. And the way people, it was just gross. The way he was treated was gross. I would not have handled it with the grace that he did. That is what originally won me over. And I've gotten to know him better and understood his positions better, you know. But anyway, and I'm proud to call Chase a friend at this moment. So he had tried to do that. So as far as I'm concerned, that was a blatant attempt by Roos to hijack and subvert our internal processes and entice others to violate our bylaws.
I'd like to brag on Chase for just a second there. So Chase, until recently, lived literally less than 10 minutes from me. Chase ran a House campaign in 2020 that was not the greatest campaign, but it was his first shot at something. First of that size. You know, he had already been a chair of an affiliate and those sorts of things. But in 2022, there was a special election in Georgia to replace a senator. Chase spun up a whole Senate campaign and pushed one of the closest, like one of the most intensely fought races in the country to a runoff.
Was Herschel Walker, right? Was one of them?
Yeah. Herschel Walker and John Ossoff. No, I'm sorry. It was Herschel Walker and radical liberal, whatever his name is, with all the pictures where he was on a skateboard. Raphael Warnock.
Oh, yeah.
And so after that campaign, after seeing how like Chase did under fire there, I was like, Chase is the way to go. This is someone who can win. This is someone who really understands what's going on with libertarianism. He and I don't agree on every issue, but the guy is principled and he's going to fight for libertarianism. And when I heard he had won the nomination for DC, because I did not, in fact, watch all the way to the end of DC and wasn't a delegate for DC, I was thrilled. And then I watched everything happening to him. And I hopped on his campaign and I helped with data analysis there. And I figured after how rough it was even just to be on the campaign that Chase would be done with the party. He would be like Andrew Hunt or any of the other libertarians who went through a rough campaign. We're like, I'm done with this shit. And Chase is still here. He ran for chair of LP Georgia. He's still active in LP Georgia. He just gave a talk about libertarianism in the UK. Like, the guy is a machine. A strong voice for liberty. And so watching all the horrible things said about him that are just wholly untrue, it's awful. It's horrible. I just...
And Kennedy enabled this, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because Angela was horrible to Chase. The Mises Caucus was horrible to Chase. People get mad at me all they want. I don't care. There was a strong current of homophobia that went on in the opposition to Chase. And Kennedy enabled and profited by this backstabbing and shit treating of our candidate. I just cannot tell you the detest I have. It's probably not a word in that form for that man. So back to the JFC thing here. I'm just going through my outline because I know. All right. Now, just prior to the LP convention in 2024, because Kennedy had flirted with an LP nomination. If people could go back on my channel where I talk about that, that's before I knew Angela went to Mar-a-Lago and all that other stuff that she hid from the LNC and all of these breaches of duties, whatever. I was such a babe in the woods. No idea that any of this was going on. Kennedy came out and said, I am not seeking the Libertarian nomination. There are articles, you can look it up. He definitively ruled it out. Right. When he came and spoke at convention, that's a whole other clusterfuck between Trump and him coming to speak at convention. He didn't come there initially to seek the nomination. When he spoke, he had the Kennedy-Shanahan backdrop behind him. He was campaigning for his independent run, not for the Libertarian nomination, which is underscored by the fact that Shanahan did not seek the VP nomination whatsoever. That also puts paid to the lie that he was somehow affiliated with the party. He explicitly disclaimed he was treating our nomination. And then when Roos and his crew got up there, if you remember, they had to get on the phone with him to see if he would accept the nomination that they were pushing on him. So it was all very last minute. That is not being affiliated with the party. So then we
know who paid for Kennedy's membership. We know he's a big Kennedy donor. He worked directly with the Libertarians for Kennedy, and he worked directly with Angela and the Joint Fundraising Committee, JFC. There's the letters. Sorry, y'all. I have had so little sleep lately. And so the concept that, maybe all this happened organically, it's such a blatant lie. And, it's politics. I don't expect people to always be 100% honest. But holy shit. Like, that level of gaslighting, that level of trying to convince people that, like, no, you don't see what you're saying. I can't fathom it. It's the same thing we saw from Kennedy on the actual campaign trail. It's the same thing we saw from Trump. So I shouldn't be surprised. And so I guess I'm a little naive in that I am surprised on it. But I'm surprised on it. I can't imagine being okay with doing that. It's just so gross.
Well, I just, in going through notes here, something just clicked. In my appeal to the JC, Glenn Rink, with the head honcho, with
that's what I was talking about.
Okay, with the Kennedy campaign, he wrote an amicus to try to claim that the Colorado nomination had nothing to do with the Joint Fundraising Committee, and that he first approached Angela for the Joint Fundraising Committee at Freedom Fest on July 8th. However, Liberty Centuries has an article dated July 6th, and John Ponte interviewed Jordan Marinovich, who was the communications director of LPCO at that time. And I have that article here. And is it a smoking gun? I think you can read into it that way. I mean, come on, how incredulous are we going to be? So Jordan said, now remember, this is 2 days allegedly before Angela had any idea. Marinovich said that the LPCO has received commitments for joint fundraising. And this is allegedly 2 days before Angela knew anything about it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. And Jordan, by the way, is a good... I don't like the decisions he made as on the board, but out of the people who were on the Colorado board at that time, Jordan is a good guy. Like, when it came time to turn over the Twitter keys, like, he could have been a jerk and not cooperated. Like, no, shade on his decision, not shade on him, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay. And when LPCO tried to put Kennedy on here, he is described as an independent candidate. It was never, ever tried to be passed off here as him being an actual libertarian. And also, again, I know he, like me, has Mises regret, and he's distanced himself, but there was an LNC member at that meeting where Colorado knifed our candidates in the back. I think that meeting was July 2nd. Adam Heyman was at that meeting and went into executive session with them. So do not tell me Angela did not know about this. She absolutely knew about it. The Mises people were thick as thieves. And again, Heyman has since distanced himself from all of this. Like, we've all made mistakes. Like, again, this isn't shade on Adam. But remember, Adam did lead the charge to try to get rid of me. But it was doing Mises bidding. I've forgiven him. Like, there's nothing there. Okay.
I talked with Adam recently.
Yeah.
To see if, you know.
Yeah, I've spoken with Adam on and off since this time. People make mistakes. I don't hold grudges. Now, also on July 5th, now remember, I have to see if we could, you've seen this screenshot. I have to see if I've got all kinds of documents on my computer. If you're wondering what I'm looking at, and they're not organized. But again, a day before, allegedly, Angela was approached about the JFC. I think I have it here in my document. Okay. She made a post to the Mises Caucus PAC. Let's read that, shall we? This is dated July 5th. I'm going to discuss the RFK controversy with the MC-LNC members tomorrow on our prep call. Don't know what the hell that's talking about. I never was on any. So while I was a member of the MC, if things like this people didn't believe me when I said I was an outsider insider. Like, I was on the LNC, and at one point I thought maybe I was I was always kept kind of on the outside. And in retrospect, they were probably right. They realized when push came to shove, I was not going to toe the Mises line. So maybe they sensed something about me correct. It's like, and I know this is kind of weird bringing in Candace Owens into this whole thing, but Candace the other day thanked Ben Shapiro for firing her and saying, yeah, you probably saw I wasn't gonna follow your marching orders. So thank you for cutting me loose. So maybe Mises was right. They judged me correctly. I was going to choose the party. Good. Congratulations on you guys. You probably made the right decision. Anyway, so I never was on any MC-LNC calls, by the way. To host a special meeting with Hannah, and that's Hannah Goodman, to discuss the benefits she gained from her agreement with RFK Jr. What does that mean? I don't know. What does that mean? Maybe she has to wait to announce them, but she got a lot of concessions, benefits from his team. So RFK Jr. was plying the Colorado board with benefits concessions in order to screw the Colorado Libertarians. Corrupt. And it says we need to hear her out. She said, I am working directly with the Trump campaign. The chair of the LP backstabbed the whole party. Traitor. Back then, The LNC did not know this. Maybe the MC members of the LNC, except for me, knew it. She was working directly with the Trump campaign on July 5th to use Chase's campaign to pull from Biden, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So Angela, like, this is where the SIC report did not go far enough. This shit should have been in the SIC report. She breached, yes, Freedom Calls was bad, but I think that's actually one of her more minor breaches. I think the whole Trump thing and this shit that went on and any potential involvement she would have had in Colorado, I don't know if she did, but it should have been investigated. Did I ask the SEC to investigate it? Yes, ma'am, I did. I wasn't a part of their deliberation, so I can't say why they didn't. But if you're going, oh, why are you bringing this up now? Did you not bring it up to them? Yes, I did. My contact was Kathy, and I brought it up multiple times and sent over all kinds of documentation. But they did what they did and whatever. But the SIC report did not go nearly far enough. This was her major betrayal. And when I talked to the Office of Attorney General over the embezzlement thing, they said, oh, she's been on our radar over the whole Trump thing. So they had already been looking. Okay,
that's pretty interesting.
Yes. And just because nothing has happened yet doesn't mean nothing is going to happen. To backtrack to something I said the other day. So an LNC member, and I'm not going to say which one, and I have no duty to confidentiality for anything an LNC member tells me after I was off the LNC. An LNC member told me that Stephen Nicola told them that the issue. So let's get to the FAC thing a little bit. So the LNC was submitting reports about the Joint Fundraising Committee. The FEC sent several requests for additional information, where they RFAIs, okay, to which the LNC responded. And now they've heard nothing since their response. Nicola has told the LNC, allegedly, according to this LNC member, that because they haven't heard anything else, as far as the FEC is concerned, they're good. I don't know if Nicola believes that, but that's not how things work. The way things work is if the FEC sends you a request for additional information and you respond, and your response is clear as to what your position is. Like, it isn't where they need to ask you another question to clarify. You've said what your position is. And they think it's wrong and may be in violation of FECA. They don't come back to you. They refer it to the commissioners to see if they're going to issue something called an RTB, which is short for reason to believe. It means there's a reason to believe a violation has taken place, and an RTB is what initiates an investigation. However, an RTB cannot be issued without a vote of the commissioners. There is no FEC right now. There's supposed to be 6 commissioners on the FEC. They have to have a quorum in order to take any votes. There are only 3 right now. A quorum is 4. The FEC is paralyzed. You can't even get an advisory opinion from them right now. So I know people have given the LNC shit for selling the building without an advisory opinion. They can't get one. They can't get one because the FEC doesn't have quorum. Trump is not going to appoint the 4th commissioner to have quorum because, forget about this RFK thing. We know that there was a complaint filed by the DNC against the Kennedy Victory Fund. Trump is protecting Kennedy right now. We're not the only shady thing, I don't believe, that the Kennedy Victory Fund was involved with. And Trump has his own problems with people looking into Elon's donations and Elon's PACs. And I don't have an opinion on any of that. I haven't looked at it. All I know is it's in Trump's best interest to keep the FEC completely neutered right now, because he's protecting his ass, he's protecting Elon's ass, he's protecting RFK Jr.'s ass. Now, if that last election was any sign of things to come, what do you think is going to be some of the first things that happens if the Democrats get in power? Angela screwed us. because we're going to get caught in that crowd. And rightly so. I know the LNC can't say this. They got to, protect their own whatever. I can say it. I'm off the LNC. In my opinion, they should start throwing her under the bus right now. That SIC report should have dealt with all this shit right now. I don't think Steve is thinking at all clearly whatsoever. I'm sorry.
I have a different thought on why this is happening this way. I think there are people in the LNC that wouldn't have voted to go that far. And I think there's people in the LNC that are worried about what happens if the LNC is investigated. And so, out of fear that they wouldn't have the votes and that would look bad, they won't even bring the motion to attempt it because they're afraid. I honestly think, I'm sure that there's people who are going to take this as I'm being terrible toward them. I think that they're cowards. And a lot of people are. A lot of people go into a thing to be bureaucratic and that sort of thing. But going back to the libertarian point from earlier, we don't have that luxury as libertarians. We have to fight. And trying to hide from consequences goes against everything that leads to the non-aggression principle in the first place. We have to fight it with light.
And I again, because I was off the LNC, there's no conflict with me saying this, and I am being very careful about things I say because I do have confidential information. I'm not going to break my NDA. When I left the LNC, both Nikayla and Oliver Hall made it clear that they were going to go after me if I broke anything with my NDA. Meanwhile, Andrew Chatterton and Austin Martin are breaking their NDA every single day of the week, but I'm the one who got threatened after I got chased off because someone was just brutally harassing me. Great, Steve. That's such a good look. Threaten me again, but I won't. I told him, absent some kind of court order or subpoena, I'm not breaking my NDA. However, I did also make it clear to them that I might seek a court order to be relieved from portions of my NDA because I believe the party needs transparency on everything. And I'm not claiming I have any bombshell or anything like that. It's just, I think they deserve my unfiltered voice. But anyway, that hasn't happened, whatever. But I did write the LNC once I was off. And I've told LNC members this, that I have been thinking long and hard about everything about this joint fundraising agreement. I told them I believe it's illegal. And I'll tell you what I urge them to do. And people can laugh at me and say, this is stupid. You need to do some research into it. But it has to do what you said. We have to be the party of accountability. I told the LNC that you need to turn yourself in, basically. The FEC does not like investigating people. They are very, I hate using the word merciful when it comes to the state, but they are very lenient on self-reporters. And if you think it was completely legal, say concerns were brought to us, we're bringing this to your attention. And let's say, in fact, the FEC does determine it's illegal. If you self-report, fines are reduced like 80%. And they would have the opportunity to place the blame squarely where it goes, on Angela, which is even in the future. Because you said if the LNC gets investigated, I don't think there's an if. I think it's a when. And I think it was a when the minute that response went out by the joint attorney for the LNC and the Kennedy Victory Fund, that response was crap. I don't want to put it that way. That response was brilliant. The underlying material was crap. So, all right, so we're right along here. Here's Angela on June 9th after the election with the red-headed libertarian, of all people, with all the controversy that's going on. I wonder if this is real, recognizes real right here. But Angela said...
Good reference.
Yeah. So Angela said,
Oh.
we took one for the team to get Trump elected. So she's absolutely admitting it. It was painful, but we played our part. When the chickens come home to roost, you better be throwing her under the bus like at lightning speed. Okay. Let's see here. To the Libertarians mad at me for making a deal with Trump. She had no authority to make any kind of deals. And the LNC knew nothing about it. Well, when I say the LNC, I mean the entire LNC. I'm sure there were some LNC members who knew. And Nicole Shanahan thanked her for steering support to Trump. So then we had the JFC approved, blah, blah, blah. Now, between the two JC appeals, that's when Kennedy withdrew his independent run and threw his support behind Trump. So, but I'm trying to get to the notes I had on the legality of this thing. Okay, so the FEC. So we.
Dave.
Oh wait. Oh, okay. Yes, thank you, Dave. For we've got to support the people that are getting this party back on track. So the LNC had been filing its reports that it had to do. It wasn't the LNC filing. The Joint Fundraising Committee, which is like a separate entity, had its own treasurer and things like that. They're filing
Its own treasurer, but our bank account.
Yeah, it's convoluted. It really is. So I'm simplifying it, and I don't even understand all the complicated part of it. I do more than the average bear, but not as much as some people. So the LNC got multiple RFAIs that were related to reports towards the end of 2024, and those are all public. Everyone can go and read them. And then the attorney Lorenzo Holloway, who represented both the LNC and the Kennedy Victory Fund, responded. Okay. So here's what at least part of what the RFAI said. It said, your report discloses coordinated expenditures on Schedule F. I know eyes are glazing over with this FEC language. It goes, please note that coordinated expenditures are made by national and state party committees, listen up, on behalf of their candidates in connection with the general election. Was Kennedy our candidate? No, he was not. And it also goes on to say, in connection with the general election, including House, Senate, and presidential nominees. Was Kennedy our presidential nominee? No, he was not. But if he had been in the ballot in Colorado, that was the loophole. I'm convinced of it. Can't prove it yet. I'm convinced of it. He would have been our nominee, perhaps. So Kennedy was never our candidate or our nominee.
From things that I cannot totally reveal, we've got a pretty decent idea that the intention was twofold there, to both hit the JFC and because some of the other states that attempted to say no Chase Oliver anywhere also wanted Kennedy to be on. So it looks, for instance, like Tennessee was absolutely hoping to put Kennedy on their ballot. But like everything else Hannah Goodman does, she failed.
So now we're going to get to Holloway's response, because this is what's really going to show the illegality. And I know this, and if you, whenever you need to cut things short, you let me know, Kyle. You're in a different time zone, I know that. But we are getting towards the end. But this is getting to the nitty-gritty legal. All of that other stuff was like kind of a lot of background, which people might have not known all this, or they might not remembered and were refreshing. So I've got really detailed notes on Holloway's response. And again, Holloway's a brilliant attorney. Like, what he did, he made a silk purse out of a sow's ear, okay? But you look close and you still see it's a pig. Okay. So number one, he says Kennedy was affiliated with the National Party because Kennedy spoke at the convention. At that point, as I said, he already ruled out our nomination. He changed our mind there. The stage setup still said Shanahan, Kennedy. So that shows he was not affiliated with the Libertarian Party. But on May 11th, the National Party announced his speaking engagement. And I have a copy of the Twitter post. And it says, independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy will give remarks and field questions from Libertarian delegates. So even the National Party, at the time of announcing it, conceded that he was not, his speaking at the convention did not make him affiliated with the party. We announced him as an independent candidate. Now, here's the stronger argument. Holloway says, he spoke at the convention. Okay, that's a crap argument. 2, Kennedy sought the party's nomination.
No,
Kennedy's...
not really.
I know, but he did accept him being nominated. And at best, his acceptance of the nomination may have indicated that if he won, he would have become affiliated with the party, but he was not affiliated at that point. I think he lived in California at that time. Am I correct?
I think so.
All right. He was not a registered... California has partisan registration. He was not a registered Libertarian. There's no matter where you grasp, there's nowhere that in any meaningful sense of the word, or any sense of the word, for fuck even meaningful, that he was affiliated with the Libertarian Party.
He signed the Liberty Pledge, Karen Ann. What else do you need?
So did Gabe Evans, who then voted against releasing the Epstein files. So he may, by accepting a nomination, indicated a future desire conditioned upon him winning the nomination of being affiliated with the party, but he wasn't affiliated with the party. And he didn't cease his independent run until August. He still was calling himself an independent up till August. He was not affiliated with the party. And remember, the joint fundraising agreement was not just with Kennedy, it was with Kennedy and Shanahan. And remember that RFAI said your candidates and your nominees. Even if you were going to argue because Kennedy spoke and Kennedy sought our nomination, that somehow made him our candidate, you can't say that for Shanahan. And she was part of the joint fundraising agreement up through August when he suspended his campaign. Then Holloway argues that a successful nomination is not required, and he cites certain advisory opinions, but they are completely distinguishable. And you know, I have copies of those so that I can give everybody. But right here, this was the one advisory opinion cited was the RNC wanting to run campaign ads prior to nomination for people that were seeking the nomination. That is so distinguishable from joint fundraising done after nomination when the person you're doing the joint fundraising with lost the nomination. And if just seeking the nomination made him affiliated, could then Kennedy, in theory, if these other groups I'm about to name had national committees, could he have done JFCs with these as well? Because he sought the nomination of the We the People Party, the Reform Party, the Alliance Party, the Independent Party, the American Independent Party, the Natural Law Party, the Texas Independent Party. Wow, you heard of polyamory, this is polypoliticalery or whatever. And it also said that placement on the ballot is not required. Now, if he had been on the ballot in Colorado, okay. So the advisory opinion they cited is where the FEC allowed joint fundraising with a Utah Democrat candidate who was not on the ballot in Utah. but he was not in the ballot, I think, because he missed filing deadlines. He received the nomination. There was no other contending candidates. The Democrat Party all admitted he was the candidate, but for he missed the candidacy filing deadline. Oopsie! But he was their candidate. How that is at all now remember the Holloway, the attorney, is going to cite the strongest cases, and there was those 2 advisory opinions which are not as all strong. But here's what makes it this makes it absolutely certain. If you look up U.S. Code, well, it's 52 USC, if you want me to cite it, 30116. Subparagraph D, subsection 2, if you really want me to put, in any way. It says that a political party's national committee can make coordinated expenditures with candidates who are, quote, affiliated with that party. What does that mean? Well, 11 CFR 109, whatever, I can give the whole thing, requires a candidate to file a statement of candidacy. And it's an FEC form. Statement of candidacy. Chase Oliver had to fill one out. Everyone who's running for president has to fill one out if they're going to raise more than $5,000. And guess what that form has on it? Affiliation. Do you think that FECA, when it says affiliated with that party, has any relation to the FEC form in which you have to declare your affiliation? So, Kennedy filled out multiple statements of candidacy. First one, April 5th, 2023, affiliated with Democratic Party. There's a bunch of these because he did minor corrections. Sometimes treasurers change, address change. April 6th, affiliated Democratic Party. October 17th, 2023, switched to independent. March 26th, 2024, Shanahan was added as VP, affiliation, independent. July 23rd, 2024, after our convention and after the joint fundraising agreement was signed. If he was going to indicate some kind of intention to be affiliated with the LP, wouldn't you think it would show up then? But guess what? He put down independent. There's the same requirement for the candidate's principal committee, which would have been the Kennedy Victory Fund. And there's a bunch of filings for them. Democrat, independent, 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 independent. Again, July 23rd, independent. Under the FEC's own paperwork, where it requires you to declare your affiliation, he was never, ever listed as a libertarian. And FECA requires that coordinated expenses have to be made with, what was the exact wording? These laws make me, my eyes cross. And, you know, I don't work with election law, but allow a political party's national committee to make coordinated expenses with candidates who are affiliated with that party. I don't think there's any question here that that was illegal. And even if not, any reasonable person should have asked, maybe not should have asked, because I don't expect everyone on the LNC to know FECA. But certainly Angela should have known it when she was bringing the party into this. And nowhere, unless she said it in executive session, which I wouldn't know, but members didn't know how legally questionable this was. And in fact, she very stridently publicly said the opposite, that she consulted with people from here out her wazoo, and this was fine. Everything's fine. Everything's not fine. Even if it turns out I'm wrong, this is very, very, but I don't think I'm wrong. Like, I'm not a betting person. I'd bet on this being illegal. And
Chuck said the same in the chat.
What?
Chuck actually said the same in the chat, that he would bet on this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, but Chuck is a wagerer. I'm not. And he knows I'm not. Now, I'll tell you, the only thing that gives me pause, because there is one thing that gives me pause on my certainty. While Angela, I think, got corrupted by, little taste of power she got where she felt special because that Trump campaign official called her, whatever. And that's when she turned. Kennedy, for however I might think about his morals, him or at least the people surrounding him, he might have a brain worm and been a heroin addict, but I don't think he's stupid. I think he's a little crazy. I don't think he's stupid. And I certainly don't think the people around him are stupid. So that's the only thing that gives me pause. I'm just some, about to be retired pink-haired lady in Colorado. Like, do I know better than these people? All I know is I can use my brain and my eyes, and that's the conclusion I come to. But it does give me pause where I don't think I'm the smartest person in the room. And these people make millions of dollars. And while I think Angela could get fooled and the LNC could get fooled, it is a tough, you do have to just be honest and go, if I'm right, it means all these Kennedy people were wrong. Or they thought they would just get away with it and they didn't mind sacrificing the LP. That's probably more likely. They're like, we can screw over this group. And remember, John Ponte, I think, was discovered. It might have been you. Some of these donors that we helped enable, one of them was like, the director, or ended up being appointed director with something to do with Alligator Alcatraz and just all this anti-libertarian crap. It was so slush when somebody got appointed to the Kennedy Center. It was abhorrent. Absolutely abhorrent. What happened to the LP Alliance website?
So LP Alliance was at lp-alliance.com. And we bought lpalliance.com, which had been more expensive, and that's why it wasn't bought originally. And we moved over, and we intend to have LP-Alliance be a permanent redirect to 308. But it's on Wix, and so we have to get Phil to have some time so that we can actually get that done. So the LP Alliance website's totally fine. It's at LP-Alliance, or I'm sorry, it's no longer at LP-Alliance, it's just at lpalliance.com. So if you search for it, it still points to the old one. Sorry for the SEO problem.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. So my motivation, because it would be perfectly natural if people were to assume that I'm just butthurt ass mad about what happened leading to my resignation. And I am butthurt ass mad. But this doesn't have anything to do with that. You can think so, but it doesn't. I'm concerned about this part. So people go, oh, if you're really concerned, then why are you shining a light on this? Because that horse has already left the barn, as far as I'm concerned, when the FEC sent those RFAIs. They're not going to settle for the answer. The answer is just obviously incorrect in my eyes. So again, at that point to me, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. So my goal now is to get the whole story out as much as I can without revealing any kind of confidential information, though I have limited anyway, because I kind of stayed out of that JFC thing. 2, when this happens, that the blame gets put where it belongs, and that is on the architects of this thing. And maybe there are some LNC members, and maybe that's why they don't want to investigate this. I don't know any of that, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody except for Angela. But I know people have said the LNC doesn't want to investigate this because who else was involved? Do I think anyone else was deeply involved to know all of this on the LNC? Actually, I don't think so. I mean, it'd be very easy
the other people
for
on the LNC tell me they were.
Oh, see, I don't know any of that. It'd be very easy for me to point to some people I don't like very much. Like there's particularly one person who's no longer on the LNC that I don't like at all. It'd be very easy for me to say, oh, that person did. But I don't have any kind of evidence of that. Like, I think they agreed with Angela's decision, but I don't have any kind of evidence that they were intimately involved.
Someone who used to be on the LNC at least claims he was.
I'd love to see the evidence. I know he supported the decision, but I don't know how much anyone else knew. But as you can tell by a lot that came out here, there was a lot I didn't know. Even when I thought I was in with the cool kids club, there was a lot I didn't know. But there was a lot I knew and put up with that I shouldn't have. Like, I've never shied away from admitting that. But there was also, as it turns out, a lot I didn't know. And it just goes to show you what a snake pit. Like, my God, that was like being in an episode of Saw. Like, coming out of the LNC, I'm kind of like, whew, man.
You nod your own leg off, but you're free.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my motivation, is that when this comes out, or the FEC comes after this, and I'm going to tell you, I think they should. Like, and I think the LNC should own up to it, because, and it isn't, again, because I bow at the FEC laws. I don't think the FEC should ultimately exist, but they do. And if you believe there was election funny business that went on, which I believe that there was, and I laid out the reasons for my belief here, I want Angela to be held responsible. I do not believe the burden should fall upon the LNC. And whether people think I'm misguided or not, everything I'm doing is to protect the LNC and put the blame where it belongs. That's my motivations. I'm a very simple person when it comes to motivations.
To me, some of the things that happen in some of the Mises claims ring fairly true for me, in the idea that libertarianism, small l, is not the party, right? And the LNC is not even the LP, much less all of libertarianism. But when you sign up and you make it you sign the pledge, you sign and get a duty with the party, you have then agreed to follow the rules and to work for the party. You're saying that you think that your best contribution to liberty is to work with the party. And if you can't do that thing, or you're of the mindset that, the party is just a good way for me to force activism out there, you are attempting to destroy something that other people have built.
Yes. It's fraudulent. This is why I've got such a burr under my saddle. And for the chair to do that.
Yep. It's I don't even so I'm gonna, anyone who listens to LP Alliance stuff knows that we generally don't talk about the Mises caucus as a whole, and I'm talking as me, not for LPA here at all. But I don't understand why so much of the Mises caucus wants to do activism and nothing else, but they don't want to use their PAC and super PAC hybrid to do it, instead thinking they need the LP for it. Just go do it.
It's almost like they have to take away someone else. I hate using the word toy, but like using an expression. It's like, no, we have to take this from you. And it's like, there's just something really dark. And I know people say Mises was like this from the beginning. And seeing how much I didn't know, I really doubt my own reality in a lot of ways. But I just don't believe that. I think things changed when Angela got that call from the Trump staffer. She got a little taste of power, and it flipped something in her. Maybe I just have to believe that. Because if I don't believe that, then I have to come to grips with that I was absolutely and utterly deceived for years, and that I'm more gullible than I think. Like, maybe my mind is protecting me from that conclusion, because that's the only other thing. I did not join Mises for this, and I did not believe it was this, and I'm not the only one. There are so many people who say what I say.
Oh yeah. I have talked about this one some. I think there are people who that was always the plan. Like, if you go look up old Michael Heiss videos, the paleo strategy has always been the thing he believed in. But after how, you know, whether you agreed with Nick Sarwark or not, with as poorly as the COVID messaging was handled, and then, you know, following into JBH, there were so many people that were so mad they were looking for something better. The Mises Caucus from 2020 to 2022 was flooded with strong radical libertarians. And so I think that Heiss lost control of it. And I think that what the Mises Caucus became was something that could be great, right? And I think that that's the thing that sold a lot of people. Rose Leatherman's talked about it. You've talked about it. Rob Yates has talked about it. All people that are good, strong libertarians. And I think what happened is that those people found a way to wrestle the control back into it and used people. And so they forced it back on this track of being softcore Republicans. That's the only way I know how to put it. And I think there's still people in the Mises Caucus that think that because they are strong principled libertarians, that the Mises Caucus must be too. And I think because of the people who are in charge of it, namely Angela, and in some ways still Michael Heiss, it's not. And until that cancer is excised, it's going to continue to suck. And since the bylaws don't let you get rid of the board, I don't know how you excise that cancer.
And I think it's funny because, like, you'll be like, maybe certain people like should not be in the party, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, and I'm always like opposed to that. Here's where I think I'm a bit more strident than you are, and you're more gracious than I am. After seeing everything I've seen and everything that Angela has done with her now being chair of Mises, it's getting vanishingly small of me having any understanding or grace towards people who have stayed in the caucus. It's still there because I still do know a few people that I just know them and I know they're not bad people, but it's becoming increasingly difficult, especially seeing the way that they just ruthlessly and mercilessly attack people. Like, and if they just don't see that, and I was part of that pack. I know gross, like that I'm not proud of any of that. But after this much time, and it's always hard to be one of the first, okay? Especially if you're visible in the caucus. I know of one higher level defector than me, but they're not particularly public about it. I think I'm probably, I don't like saying high level because I wasn't on their board, but being an officer of the LP and all of that, probably the highest level public defector. After you get a couple of those, it makes it easier for the rank and file. And I mean, I think Matt Johnson and he wasn't even a defector. I mean, he is now, but they threw him out. And they threw him out because of Meredith, by the way, sweet, innocent Meredith. But now that you've had these higher level people that are outspoken against it, I don't understand the rank and file that can't find the courage to leave. I'm just finding it really, really difficult to believe. And then particularly, like, was it Michelle McCutcheon that said to me the other day, and I apologized to her immediately on the spot. She goes, I've been there for a while. I don't understand. And she didn't say you people because, you know, she's kinder than that. But I'm going to use it in my vernacular. I don't understand how you people just stood around while I was being mauled. And she, again, didn't use those words. And I was cut to the heart. And all I said to her is, I'm sorry.
Michelle McCutcheon is another great libertarian. So we were, the first time Karen Ann and I met in person was at Chase's watch party last year in Dallas. And I had walked outside because I'd seen Chase and Michelle going that way to talk with them. And Michelle was adamant that she's done, she's retired, and not even a year later, she's the XD for Ohio. She's one of those people that just can't give up.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's so good. I love that fight.
But yeah, so I guess my plea is to any people that are still somewhat holding on to Mises, you need to go. There's nothing left. It is not what you joined. You'll survive, and if you want to do the Republican thing, literally, I'm not saying this with any facetiousness, please go join the Republican Party. You might do some good. Even though I do not like Hannah Goodman, my well wishes to her in the Democratic Party are sincere. I think she can do some good, particularly in her rural community. I've said this publicly. People have thought I've been sarcastic. I'm not. She has a heart for ranchers and more, agricultural needs. I don't think she's a good person, but I think she can do some good. So I do wish her well in her new party. And the people in Mises that want to do this Republican thing, please go do some good in the Republican Party. But don't fraudulently hijack something that people have given more time and treasure than you could imagine. That is it's morally bankrupt to do that. It's like, extreme example, like, you happen to like the church you're going to because you like the building and you like the pews, but you decided you're a Satan worshiper and you're trying to boot Jesus out. And it's like, go start your church of Satan. Like, go join the Satanists. Be happy with it. But this ancestral church, you can't have it. And they're not having the LP. I'm telling you that, right? Listen, I could, you know me, you know how determined I can get. And I am determined. They're not having it. They are not having this party. Maybe I'll lose, but I wouldn't bet against me. So on that note, we didn't beat Zulu's Dave video, but we got close. But hopefully everyone has a better understanding now, A, of what led up into all the shady shit. Why I absolutely say RFK Jr. is corrupt. And let me tell you when the LP needs to be worried. When Trump turns on him. Because I think the odds are pretty good, particularly if one of RFK's looniness leads to a bunch of deaths because he told them to drink methylene blue or something. Trump will cut him loose faster. I can't think of a good analogy, but he doesn't mean anything to Trump. Nobody means anything to Trump. Trump will throw him under the bus if it's politically expedient. And then all of a sudden, well, maybe it will be in his interest to appoint some FEC commissioners. The LP is going to be in trouble if Trump and RFK Jr. have a break. That's my opinion. And I think there's probably about a 60% chance that they're going to have a break. Because that guy's
insane.
Yeah, that brainworm, man. I wouldn't want to be like anywhere in the blast radius of that when that happens. So now again, in conclusion, I hope people have a better understanding, and I'm not letting this go. I'm like, again, God, I'm doing all these Candace references. She's a nut, just like RFK Jr. is a nut. But in a weird way, I do admire, like, once she decides she's going to do something, even if it's absolutely batshit, like her defamation of the Macrons, like, that's like what I'm saying. Well, I'm not going to give this up. Like, Candace kind of has that same kind of determination, but just always for something, like, literally insane. But I'm not giving, like, yeah, Candace is just going down every rabbit trail with who murdered Charlie Kirk. This is me with this crap. Okay. I'm not giving it up. Not. Hopefully I won't be like a brainworm or insane like Candace Owens, but just that kind of determination. So I'm going to do one plug, and I'm going to let you plug all of your stuff, Kyle. If you guys appreciated this stream, first, I will encourage you to support LP Allies. So I know Kyle's going to plug that. I'm going to plug my Patreon, patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. If you are enjoying, and people have told me of me getting back into the LP Inside Baseball, which I kind of stayed away from for a while because it really was just too traumatic. I don't care if you think this drama queen or not. It was just too traumatic for me. And I'm now at a distance where I can handle it. You know, you're going to get the straight shit from me, because I can't do anything else. So I'd appreciate it if you'd consider that, or drop a super thanks or super chat. That's what keeps the show going. And now, Kyle, please promote the things that you're involved in.
Absolutely. So I think the most important one is LP Alliance. The LP Alliance is all about the solidarity of libertarians. And so when you hear people talk about unity, it's all about getting rid of your difference so that we can all be the same and work together. And that's nonsense. We're libertarians. Not one of us is the same as another libertarian. We're all individuals. So solidarity is what we need, where you find the things that you agree with other libertarians on and you work together. So you can go to lpalliance.com or discord.gg/lp-alliance. And, you know, even if you don't want to actually get physically involved, you think it's better to spend money, we have a give link right on our website so that you can help us with our current big goal, which is to pay for 100 libertarians to get to Grand Rapids, especially those who wouldn't otherwise be able to get there, Grand Rapids being where the National Convention is going to be next year, because we would like to be able to pay for hotel rooms and travel for especially the Pobritarians. And this is not a thing where, you know, like obviously tonight I crapped on the Mises Caucus a little bit, but it's not something that's anti-anybody. It's an intercaucus coalition looking to rebuild the Libertarian Party and revolutionize the libertarian movement locally, nationally, and around the world. We have streams almost every day. Probably the most popular, generally speaking, is the Business List on Thursdays, where we go through party news, national news, and world news. And then if you are more of a reader than a watcher, I don't know why you're here, but if that's the case, then there's the torch.media, which is our revolutionary journal. We want libertarians to be able to talk to each other and discuss ideas in depth and let everyone else read it and see it. Please publish something to the Torch. Legitimately, we'll publish things. We'll publish whatever you're writing as long as it's good enough to be published. And we have an excellent editor who's Amanda Griffiths, and she's worked with Reason and Cato and all kinds of different places. She's really good. Make sure to do something for liberty. It doesn't necessarily have to be with us, but all you got to know is that right now the government's doing horrible things, even more so than normal. And we're responsible for that government. We're supposed to be the government. And so the things they're doing in our names, and that's not okay.
Perfect. Okay, I know you're Georgia, so it's late enough for me. I know, and I get up like at 4 a.m. because people don't know I leave my house at like 5:20 and I don't get home to 8 o'clock because I have to commute to downtown Denver. Like it's rough. I have like a 2.5 hour commute each way. But I do work, and then when I get home, we get in the hot tub. So, thank you, Kyle, because this would have been quite boring with just me blabbering on, and I like hearing your perspective. And I hope some other pieces that you might not have, like talking, puts pieces together. And so much time has passed. I think we've forgotten some of these things. Like until I started going through like all the documentation I accumulated, I forgot about those Roos letters and that him sending the receipt to the LPF. It's just like, and I'm sure there's shit I forgot. Like if I went back through my folders.
He keeps getting caught.
Yeah.
Like, how bad of a criminal do you have to be?
I know. And it's like I said, she didn't make money with Freedom Calls. It's not my fault she was bad at it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, everyone. We're going to get going. I hope you all have an awesome night. And thank you again, Kyle. It was a pleasure. Okay, I'm going to do my closing screen and I'm going to boot you off. All right, bye-bye.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because they want to